I've always been a light sleeper, so when I heard the soft, rhythmic scratching at my door in the middle of the night, I was instantly awake. I glanced at my phone, 3:17 a.m. My roommate Jake was out of town for the weekend, so it was just me in the apartment. The scratching continued, growing louder. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind, or maybe a tree branch against the window. But then, I heard the unmistakable sound of our front door creaking open. My heart pounded in my chest as I quietly slipped out of bed and tiptoed to my bedroom door, pressing my ear against it. The apartment was silent for a moment. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps padding down the hallway towards my room. I held my breath, praying they would pass my door. But they stopped right outside. I could hear someone breathing heavily. Then, the doorknob to my room began to turn. In a panic, I pushed my dresser in front of the door just as it burst open. The intruder slammed against the door a few times before giving up. I called the police, and they arrived within minutes. The intruder was gone, but they found our front door wide open. The next day, I called Jake to tell him what happened. He was silent for a moment before confessing that he had given a copy of our key to a friend who needed a place to crash. He had forgotten to tell me or ask for the key back. I was livid. That friend had broken into our apartment in the middle of the night, and I was lucky to have escaped unharmed. From that day forward, I made sure to set clear boundaries with my roommates about safety and privacy. It was a terrifying experience that I hope no one else has to go through. I had always found my roommate, Alex, a bit odd. He was quiet, kept to himself, and had an unsettling habit of staring blankly at the wall for hours, but I brushed it off as him being introverted. One night, I woke up to a strange noise coming from Alex's room. It sounded like a low, guttural growl. I thought maybe he was just having a nightmare, so I decided to check on him. As I approached his room, the growling got louder and more intense. I slowly opened his door, and what I saw froze me in my tracks. Alex was sitting on the floor, surrounded by strange symbols drawn in what looked like red paint. He was chanting something in a language I didn't recognize, and his eyes, they were glowing an eerie, unnatural green. I was terrified and backed away slowly, not wanting to interrupt whatever he was doing. I spent the rest of the night in my room, door locked, too scared to sleep. The next morning, Alex acted as if nothing had happened. He was his usual quiet self, and there was no sign of the strange symbols or the eerie green glow in his eyes. But I knew what I had seen, and I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment any longer. I moved out the following week, but the memory of that night still haunts me. I don't know what Alex was doing or why, but I do know that I'll never forget the sight of my roommate surrounded by those strange symbols chanting in that unknown language. When I moved in with my new roommate, Mark, everything seemed normal. He was friendly, clean, and respectful of my space. But as the days turned into weeks, I started noticing something strange. Mark had a collection of dolls. At first, I thought it was just a quirky hobby. But then, I started waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of whispers. I would walk out into the living room to find Mark sitting in the dark, surrounded by his dolls, whispering to them. One night, I woke up to find one of the dolls sitting at the foot of my bed, staring at me with its glassy eyes. I screamed and threw it across the room. Mark rushed in, picked up the doll, and apologized, saying he must have left it there by accident. But the incidents didn't stop. I would find dolls in my closet, under my bed, even in my car. And every night, the whispering continued. I couldn't sleep, and I felt like I was being watched all the time. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I moved out and cut all ties with Mark. To this day, I can't look at a doll without feeling a chill run down my spine. I don't know what Mark was doing with those dolls, but I'm glad I got out when I did.